Before we start calculating negative numbers raised to exponents, let's first review how we multiply with negative numbers. And we're going to go over two main cases. The first case is if both numbers have the same sign. And for multiplying two numbers with the same sign, that means that will result in a positive answer. And so this case has two mini cases. The first case is positive times positive equals a positive answer. And the second mini case is negative times negative equals a positive answer again. So let's look at some examples that show these mini cases. So first, let's look at 2 times 5. And we know they're both positive. So we're going to put a positive sign for positive 2 and another positive sign for positive 5 out in front. And then we're just going to multiply the 2 and the 5 together. And since we're multiplying two positives, they're both the same sign, so that means our answer is going to be positive. And we know that 2 times 5 equals 10, so putting this all together, our answer is going to be positive 10, which is positive. And then our second mini case is negative 2 times negative 5. And we know they're both negative. So we'll take one negative sign for negative 2 and one negative sign for negative 5 and put them out in front. And then we'll multiply the 2 and the 5 together. And since we're multiplying two negatives, they're both the same sign, so our answer is going to be positive. And we know that 2 times 5 equals 10. So putting this all together, we also get positive 10. So these examples show that a positive number times a positive number gives us a positive answer, and a negative number times a negative number also gives us a positive answer. So if we're multiplying two numbers and they have the same sign, it will result in a positive answer. Our second case we're going to go over is multiplying two numbers with different signs. And if we're multiplying two numbers with different signs, then the answer will be negative. And we have two mini cases we're going to look at. The first mini case is a positive times a negative will give us a negative answer. And then the second mini case is a negative times a positive will also give us a negative answer. And so let's look at a couple examples that show these mini cases. So the first one we'll do is 2 times negative 5. So we have a positive times a negative. So we're going to put a positive sign for positive 2. And then we'll put a negative sign for negative 5. And then here we'll just multiply the 2 and the 5 separately. Alright, so we have 2 times 5. So let's look at the signs. We have a positive times a negative. That will give us a negative answer because they're different signs. And 2 times 5 equals 10. So if we put all this together, we're going to get negative 10, which is a negative answer. Now the second example we'll go over is negative 2 times 5. So we have a negative times a positive. So we'll put a negative sign here for negative 2. And then we'll put a positive sign out here for positive 5. And then we'll just multiply the 2 and the 5 out here. So 2 times 5. And let's do the signs. We have a negative times a positive. They're different signs. So our answer is going to be negative. And we know that 2 times 5 equals 10. So putting this all together, our final answer is negative 10. Another negative answer. And so let's take a look here. We saw that a positive number times a negative number gives us a negative answer. And we also saw that a negative number times a positive number gives us a negative answer as well. So whether you're multiplying a positive times a negative or a negative times a positive, if they have different signs, our answer will always be negative. Let's recap what we did in this video. So if we're multiplying two numbers with the same signs, then we're going to get a positive answer. So whether you're multiplying a positive times a positive or a negative times a negative, we're always going to get a positive answer. And if we're multiplying two numbers with different signs, then we're going to get a negative answer. So whether we're multiplying positive times negative or a negative times a positive, we're always going to get a negative answer. And these rules are important because these rules are going to affect the sign of our answers. So whether we calculate the value of negative 2 to the fourth or the value of negative 5 to the third, we'll still end up multiplying numbers together. And so we need to be mindful of these rules so that way we get the correct sign for our answers. Alright, so now that we know how to multiply with negative numbers, let's calculate the value of these exponential expressions. So I'll see you in the next video.